Hello folks, today I'm going to tell you about a mysterious case from the most recent past of human history. Before we start our today's case study, please subscribe to the channel Case Study. The disappearance of the Roanoke colony, a tale of mystery and survival. In 1587, a group of 115 English settlers, led by a man named John White, arrived at Roanoke Island, a small, mysterious piece of land off the coast of what is now North Carolina. Their mission was to establish a new colony, the second such attempt in the area under the direction of Sir Walter Raleigh, an ambitious nobleman hoping to stake England's claim in the New World. The settlers were hopeful. Among them were men, women, and children, as well as artisans and craftsmen who would help create a thriving settlement. But the journey was not easy. They faced rough seas, uncertain weather, and a challenging landscape. The indigenous people of the region, particularly the Algonquian-speaking tribes, were wary of the newcomers, though some initial exchanges were cordial. John White, the colony's governor, knew that the settlement would need reinforcements and supplies, and he was also tasked with exploring the land further. He made the difficult decision to return to England in order to gather more resources for the struggling colonists. Before he left, he promised to return as soon as possible to help them. But fate had other plans. The long delay White arrived back in England in 1587, but by then, England was embroiled in its most crucial conflict, the Anglo-Spanish War. The Spanish Armada, a vast fleet sent by King Philip II of Spain to invade England, had arrived, and tensions were at a boiling point. Resources were stretched thin, and the English government was focused on the war. Supplies for the Roanoke colony were delayed, and White's return to the New World was postponed. In fact, White was unable to return until 1590, 3 years after he had left. He finally set sail in that year with a supply ship, eager to reunite with his colony and rescue the settlers. But when White and his crew arrived at Roanoke Island, they found nothing. The settlement was completely abandoned. The mystery of the lost colony: there were no signs of violence, no bodies, and no indication that the settlers had met an untimely death. The fort that White had left behind was in ruins, overgrown with weeds and vines. The only clue to what had happened was a single, haunting message carved into a post of the fort: Croatoan. The word was both a name and a location. Croatoan was the name of a nearby island, where a tribe of indigenous people lived. John White had had some dealings with the Croatoan tribe before he left for England, and he hoped this might offer some answers. The settlers, it seemed, might have left the island for safety or to survive, but there was no trace of them on Croatoan Island either. White, desperate for answers, ordered a search. He and his men sailed to Croatoan Island, but a fierce storm struck, forcing them to turn back. He never did find out what had happened to the colonists. Theories and speculation since then. The fate of the Roanoke colony has been one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in history. Historians and researchers have offered various theories, but none have been conclusive. 1. The colonists moved to Croatoan Island. Perhaps the settlers, faced with dwindling supplies and the threat of violence, decided to relocate to Croatoan Island. The carved word Croatoan was likely a message, indicating their destination. But what happened after they arrived? Were they welcomed by the Croatoan people, or did they suffer from disease, starvation, or conflict with other tribes? 2. An attack by native tribes. Relations between the Roanoke colonists and the local tribes had been strained. Some have speculated that the settlers were attacked and killed by one of the nearby tribes, or that the indigenous people might have taken them as captives. However, there were no signs of a violent struggle at the fort, and no physical evidence was found to support this idea. 3. Spanish intervention. A less popular but still intriguing theory suggests that the Spanish, who were in Florida at the time, may have attacked the settlement. Spain and England were bitter enemies, and Spain might have sought to eliminate the English presence in the Americas. But this theory, too, is largely unsupported by evidence. 4. Integration with native tribes. Another possibility is that the settlers were assimilated into the local Native American tribes. Over the years, there were scattered reports of European-looking individuals in various indigenous groups, though these stories are largely anecdotal. It is possible that some of the colonists survived by merging with the Croatoan or other nearby tribes. The legacy of Roanoke. Despite centuries of investigation and speculation, no one knows for sure what happened to the Roanoke colonists. Archaeological digs, historical research, and even modern scientific analysis have failed to turn up concrete evidence. The mystery endures as one of the most famous unsolved disappearances in history. The story of Roanoke was not just a tale of vanished settlers, it was a symbol of the dangers and hardships faced by early European colonists in the Americas. Whether the settlers were victims of disease, starvation, or violence, or whether they simply chose to disappear into the wilderness and integrate with native tribes, their story is a poignant reminder of the fragility of human existence in a new and unforgiving world. To this day, the carved word Croatoan remains the most enduring clue, a single word that may hold the key to the lost colony's fate, but one that, for now, continues to elude us.